Hey, somebody's got to fire up the amp. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. Hey, I know you can Google the number of dog breeds accepted by the American Kennel Association. You could write an essay on agricultural efforts in Ecuador. But where do you seek wisdom? Allow me to suggest wisdomharbor.com. That's wisdomharbor.com. For less than $3 a month, you'll have access to original content only found on wisdomharbor.com that'll have a positive effect on your personal and professional life. Utilizing video, audio, and the written word, content is delivered in small bites by Grammy winners, CEOs, comedians, master chefs, best-selling authors, and Hall of Fame speakers. There are even guitar lessons from an award-winning songwriter. Check it out today and join today. wisdomharbor.com. That's wisdomharbor.com. Observations and answers, that's what we do on the Professional Noticer, and we love it when somebody comes to the table with observations and answers. And that's what we have today. Our special guest has carved a permanent place in rock and roll history. This guy's sold more than 40 million albums, over 7,000 very high-octane concerts, and continues to set attendance records around the world. He is also, now not just to music fans, but to another group of millions of people, he's known as America's most outspoken proponent of our First and Second Amendment rights. He is an icon, but this is a guy who is giving of himself. He's receiving commendations from state police, from sheriff's departments, from police agencies, the FBI, big brothers and sisters. He works with Pass It On Mentors program and ambassador to Exodus Place, which is advancing the goal of zero veteran homelessness in Michigan. And he also works with Operation Finally Home to provide quality mortgage-free housing for our wounded and disabled vets. Now, I want to tell you this. Right before I bring him on, I got to tell you, he is one of a tiny handful of people in history who can legitimately be called the greatest guitar player of all time. And he'll be hitting the road this summer with his new album, Detroit Muscle, and we have him here with us today. Please welcome Ted Nugent. Ted,
greetings,
how are
Andy.
you?
Happy Insanity 22 to you and everybody out there. And by the way, with that list, I almost forgot about that list. It looks like I'm going to have to get a wax job on my halo. I didn't know I qualified as Mother Teresa with a 10 millimeter. This is awesome. I love myself even more now than I did a minute ago. Just a minute ago, I was shoveling dog poop out of the kennel. So I've really covered all the bases.
I'll be glad to call your wife and tell her how great you really are.
Well, no, I wouldn't do that because I like to keep her hungry, if you know. No, I have, by the way, speaking of wives, all those things you just listed, which is awesome, I guess. I guess if you put your heart and soul in being the best that you can be, that's what happens. But if you met Mrs. Nugent, then you'd really have to appreciate me because, boy, is she the queen of the forest and is she an amazing human being. Along with all my sons and daughters and grandkids and all my band and my crew, I'm surrounded by such wonderful, wonderful, positive people that if I'm worth jack squat, it's because of them, not me.
Now you and your wife have been married 33 years, right?
She hasn't even killed me yet. This is awesome. There's another indicator that I might be worth something. Yeah, Shemaine and I, what an incredible lady. I just gave her a big kiss goodbye as I was vacuuming, and she's going into Waco to do some television to promote truth, logic, common sense, we the people, Constitution, Bill of Rights, 10 Commandments, Golden Rule. She is really what the founding fathers wanted all Americans to be. So that's the kind of person that I'm not only married to, but I'm surrounded by. And again, I list my band, my crew, my management, my team, my hunting buddies. If you met my kids, you'd think I was the most wonderful human being in the world because they are some of the most wonderful human beings in the world.
Well, you can look at somebody's kids and you can tell a lot about them, you know?
Yep, that and their bathroom.
The reason I mentioned 33 years of marriage is because we talked the other day on your anniversary. And my youngest son, Adam, and I were at the hunting camp, and my phone rang, and I looked, and it says Ted Nugent. And I turned it around to Adam, and Adam goes, "Oh, put it on speakerphone. Put it on speakerphone." So we talked, and you happened to tell me that day that 33 years, man. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, I accept that on behalf of everyone who has been fortunate enough in life to find their soulmate. So God bless the real marriages across the land.
Wow. Now, I have some questions for you that...
It's funny because I have some observations and some answers, so we deserve each other.
I know you do. And I have done a fair amount of interviews, not as many as you have, but one of the things that just drives me nuts on interviews is to be bored to tears by being asked the same things over and over again. And so I have a couple of questions today that I want to ask that maybe you're not asked that often. And
that would be quite a challenge because I've been doing interviews nonstop since about 1965. And so I welcome any, but remember, do not underestimate the importance of repetition and redundancy, because we're in a culture war, a spiritual war here in America today, because so many people have not been told the truth about history and about mankind. And we need to repeat a lot of truisms. We need to celebrate truth, logic, and common sense every day we can. So no question could be repeated often enough as long as we're delivering meaningful information to people. So Andy Andrews, let her rip. Nothing is sacred. And if it is, I can fix it.
Well, here's my first just observation. You are obviously a very shy child.
Yes, well, I probably was as a kid. I think we all are before we discover our wings. But it's great that you bring up my childhood, and I'm very proud of it because my mom and dad loved me and disciplined me hardcore.
Well, there's question number 2 and question number 3, because I wanted to ask about your parents and your discipline growing up.
Well, my dad was a drill sergeant in the U.S. Army Cavalry in World War II in Korea, and he never stopped. And we didn't appreciate it growing up, but boy, do we appreciate it now. If you could have met my wonderful brother, Johnny, who passed away 2 years ago at 65, just the heart and soul of the best of humanity. And my sister, Kathy, up in the Northwoods of Michigan. My brother, Jeff, who is here, there, and everywhere, but he's been the CEO of major corporations, and he's disciplined, he's loving, he's caring. We're all productive. I think the ultimate indicator of a proper upbringing is work ethic, that you're driven to be an asset to your family, your community, your country, your fellow man, the earth. As sportsmen, as hunters, fishermen, and trappers, we know that resource stewardship is the ultimate hands-on conservation environmental responsibility, balancing the herd and maximizing wildlife habitat to bring us air, soil, and water quality. Wow, amazing. The guitar player knows that. The point being is that I was disciplined in the hunting lifestyle, aim small, miss small, that there's only one gun law needed in mankind, and that is you never point it towards anything you're not willing to destroy, Alec Baldwin. There's so many lessons of discipline and the threat of consequences. We very rarely met any I won't use the word meaningful. They were all meaningful, but we never met any abusing consequences to our growing up and stumbling and trial and error. But boy, the threat of consequences is usually enough. I give you Mayor Daley in 1968. If anybody's out after curfew, the National Guard's going to shoot you. Well, they knew he meant it. And so nobody got shot. That's what's, I know it might appear I'm going all over the place, but it's all specific in how I was raised and how too many people were not raised. And it's called discipline.
I think that a lot of parents miss the idea that the reason you discipline your children is so that they can develop self-discipline.
Yes, because absolutely.
Because if you're an adult and you don't have self-discipline, society has to discipline you, and it will not be pretty when it happens that way.
Well, we're witnessing the manifestation of just abject runaway cultural deprivation where smash and grab and carjackers are released to carjack again, and people are caught carjacking and killing people, and they're given a sentence that you should probably get for stealing a candy bar. And a lot of people will hear the things that I say like this every day in interviews, and they go, well, that's outrageous. You're damn right it's outrageous, because it's true. We're witnessing an engineered recidivism. This recidivism, this repeat offending in our criminal explosion is engineered by a failed court system and a liberal mindset that murderers shouldn't be punished and arsonists should be bailed out when they're caught committing arson and murder on film. And the Democrat Party bails them out or won't prosecute people shooting each other in Chicago. And again, these statements I'm making sound absolutely unbelievable and outrageous, except we have the footage. We have the evidence to support everything I say. So every problem in America today, and I think globally, if I may, as just a goofy guitar player, every problem in America today, from health to crime, to refusing to secure borders and engineering the invasion of America and the fentanyl to kill Americans, it's because people weren't disciplined to discipline our elected employees. And they're all self-inflicted. If you've got a health problem, this isn't a Ted Nugent presumption. This is from the medical community. 96 to 98% of health problems in the world, Andy, are because of insane, undisciplined choices. The garbage they feed themselves, the drugs, the alcohol, the tobacco, food you can't pronounce the contents because it's not food. Everybody, the obesity, I see people fighting over steaks at the Golden Corral, and it's like an ugly cartoon of giant mastodons. These people are too huge. Blubber is for whales, not for people. And I say a lot of harsh things because somebody's got to wake up and get some self-discipline. And again, if I'm 73 years clean and sober, no drugs, no alcohol, no tobacco, no stupid food. My idea of fast food is a mallard. I mean, we make sure that we take good care of ourselves. So if you witness people having problems, I guarantee you can track down almost 100% of them to some ridiculous, undisciplined, stupid choice. And I've been surrounded by the rock and roll community where I was made fun of and ostracized and actually attacked and hated because I wouldn't snort their cocaine and I wouldn't get drunk and puke. You gotta be kidding me. I told John Belushi he was going to die. I said, no, I don't want to snort that stuff. You're drooling. You peed your pants, you dirtbag. You're going to die, John. I told Jimi Hendrix, no thanks. You're going to die, man. I told Keith Moon, no way. You're going to die. I told Bon Scott of AC/DC, I said, I don't want any whiskey. You're drooling, man. You just fell down. Why would I want to join that party? So I was able to call upon my wonderful dad, Warren Henry Nugent's discipline to turn down stupid choices, because here's the truth in my life. No such thing as peer pressure. I have no peers, and no one is capable of pressure except Mrs. Nugent.
You know, this is very curious. I'm sitting here and listening to you, and I don't disagree with anything that you said. Now,
but I have no opinions. These are all truths. These are all
right.
Commonly known realities.
And see, this is it is an oddity in our society today that I think we have developed into a nation that is obsessed by how people feel, and I think that feelings have taken over the place of truth, because
yes.
but if we stop and look, I think that the reality is nobody, even though we're obsessed with how people feel, we pass laws according to how people feel. There are regulations about how people feel. People get expelled or fired because of how people feel. But the reality of the situation is nobody really cares how you feel. They only care how you act. That's always been the case. Every girl who ever liked you when you were growing up, it was according to how you acted, how you were. Every grade you ever got, you never had a teacher that gave you an A when you deserved a C because they said, "Oh, I'm not going to give him a C because he'll feel bad." Nobody ever, no coach ever let a quarterback start the game and told the guys, "I know he can't throw. I know he doesn't know the plays, but gosh, we're going to let him start tonight because it'll make him feel so good." That doesn't happen. And nobody ever interviewed for a job where the guy doing the interview or the lady doing the interview said, "Hey, if you get the job, how are you going to feel?" Nobody cares. It's something that we have put into the way of the truth. And that's why when somebody like you says, Dave Ramsey is a great friend of mine. And Dave and I'll just tell this story right now. Dave will never be on Oprah again. Dave was on Oprah once, and he will never be on Oprah again. And it's a hilarious story about why he will never be on Oprah again. They had somebody that Oprah was going to let Dave counsel this person. And this person said, we did this with our credit cards, we did this, we got in debt with this, and we did this, and we did. And Dave said, well, okay, first of all, that was stupid. And then Oprah said, well, it wasn't stupid. It wasn't stupid. And Dave said, no, it was stupid.
Yep.
And that was it for Dave on Oprah.
Yeah, here's the beauty.
But people can't take the truth.
Sure. Well, Dave, I got to tell you, Andy, every word you've just shared with us, I've had those conversations with my sons and daughters and my grandkids as they're growing up. Once they get into their 6-7-year-old, and I'm teaching them about hunting and wildlife management and aim small, miss small, marksmanship discipline, the mystical flight of the samurai arrow, that you're in charge of your arrow. There's no excuses. It's your hand. It's your eye. It's your coordination. It's your spirit. It's your focus. If you hit the bullseye, it's because you disciplined yourself to get all your gifts from God coordinated. So you're talking about feelings. This is how I always summarize it. You can't hurt my feelings. You're virtually incapable. You make nasty comments about my mother and claim I can't play guitar, Paul McCartney, and you hate me for this and that. I go, give it your best shot. I'm still feeling mighty good about myself. Thank you very much. And I teach them. The people at Donner's Pass, when they froze to death because they made a foolish decision to try to cross it in the winter, they weren't worried about feelings. Here's what you should worry about: health, food, clothing, shelter, and security. The hell with feelings. Do something that is pragmatic, that is utilitarian, that brings quality of life and security and fulfillment to the people you love. And then that will spread and metastasize, and it will help your neighbors. It'll help your country. It'll help the world. That's what a hunting lifestyle does. When I kill these deer and I eat their venison and I balance the herd, it benefits planet Earth. Because where does quality of life come from? Quality air, soil, and water. Where's the only place you get quality air, soil, and water? From a balanced wildlife habitat. And that's what hunting, fishing, and trapping accomplishes. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because the tsunamis of hate leveled against Ted Nugent. I'm speaking in the third person here because of the headlines and the lies in Rolling Stone magazine and all these music publications and High Times magazine. Ooh, the people in High Times don't like me. Perfect. So Huffington Post, they make lies about he's a racist. Maybe you should ask my black bass player, all my black friends. The point being is that feelings get you nowhere except that they slow you down and you begin to fall backwards. What you should do is identify meaning, quality of life decisions, intellectually, critically think about them, and pursue the right decision instead of the wrong decision. And if the proof isn't in the pudding that the author of Wango Tango can figure this out, then nobody has an excuse that they can't figure this out. I've always said as a hunter, if I am conscientious about my next step in the woods, I examine my surroundings, I place my foot gently, and I don't disturb. Okay, I've moved forward one step. I haven't disrupted anything. I will conscientiously place my next step, and eventually I will be rewarded by getting close to the game so I can kill my dinner with a bow and arrow. If I stumble along, or if I'm comfortably numb, which is actually uncomfortably dumb, if I'm drunk or stoned or drooling and puking and stumbling, I'm going to have to buy chicken. And quite honestly, if you're comfortably numb, you probably won't even be able to afford chicken. My point is that your assessment of the indecency, the counterproductivity of considering feelings instead of thoughtful, critically thoughtful, pragmatic, utilitarian decisions that actually have something you can grasp to bring fulfillment and happiness and health to your family's life, is nothing else matters. Now, you brought up our favorite species, women folk. I adore, I worship, but Shemaine. Now, you can hurt Shemaine's feelings, but not like when we first met. There's a cultural lie that feelings matter. Well, his feelings are real. Well, his feelings that getting high will make him a better man, he's wrong. And by the way, the reason he's wrong is because he got high. Now his brain doesn't work very good, Ozzy. The point being that feelings are counterproductive. Pragmatism and conscious critical thinking will always bring you better happiness. I've met so many people that thought they should fit in with the peer pressure and be hip and groovy. They're dead. They're dead, or they're searching for a syllable like our president. It's not a Ted Nugent hunch. If you pay attention to reality, critical thinking, conscientious behavior brings happiness. The lack thereof brings unhappiness.
Now, before I shift gears, I want to dig in deep to a question that I think any parents or kids watching this are gonna want to know, and that is when you go back, there was a decision made, a serious decision that you made, that you were not going to drink and that you were not going to take drugs, and so, you know, in a serious way, when you think about that, was there, what was that? Was it respect for your parents? Was it your spiritual life? Was it, what was it?
You know, when I made that decision in my teenage years, I was too young and dumb and mushy-brained and uneducated by the American anti-education system to have any of those capabilities for a clever decision or a meaningful decision. Let's put it up to mostly luck, but there were some indicators that I was able to observe. And again, I take it back, Andy, to my bow hunting upbringing. When you're a bow hunter, when I first started as a young boy and I first met the great Fred Bear, and my dad, our family would go north with our bows and arrows. We never killed anything, but boy, we sure had great campfires. And he taught me about fire.
You knew Fred Bear?
Oh, Andy, I hunted with Fred Bear since I was 5 or 6 years old. I have a song. If you haven't heard the song Fred Bear, your life is incomplete, because I spent his last camp with him, and an emotional eruption took place upon his death that came out in this song that has moved people around the world.
I will listen to it within the hour.
You must, and you have a hanky handy, because Fred will be there. That's how powerful my spiritual connection with his spirit when that song happened. I didn't write it. I channeled it. Wait.
Okay. Well, keep going.
yourself.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was just so blown away that you knew Fred Bear.
Oh boy. Yeah. I was with Fred Bear since I was a little boy. My point being is that I learned from Fred and my dad, and that we were a hunting family, as everybody was after World War II. It was perfect, as it is today. Perfect conservation, perfect environmentalism, perfect resource stewardship responsibility, hands-on, conscientious lifestyle, revering God's miraculous renewable creation that we have a moral responsibility to manage. Well, I couldn't have put that sentence together even 20 years ago, but close. But certainly 40, 50 years ago, I had no clue. So The lessons I learned along the Rouge River in Detroit, right across the street from our home, 23251 Florence, on the corner of Hazleton, one house over. And with my handmade bow and arrow, sneak it up on a muskrat. And if I was conscientious, I'd get close. If I stumbled, that muskrat would take off 100 yards away. Same with the pheasant, same with the quail, a lot of pheasant and quail. Oh my God. The same with the raccoons and the possums and the beavers and the squirrels and the chipmunks. And same with the hawk and the owl and the birds. If I really was stealthy. So this was a lesson of real world pragmatism. Okay. I didn't know how to apply that other than learning to be really stealthy, which means I had to dedicate myself to my situational awareness. Well, I'm 6, 7 years old and I'm figuring this out. I didn't know the words to describe it, but I knew the function. Now take that into the world of rock and roll. I was the definitive poster boy to be ripe and gullible and dumb enough to rebel against my ultra-disciplinary father. And this was when the beatniks turned into hippies and dope and drugs and booze was everywhere. I already had bands and I was already exposed to that. And I suppose my instinct to rebel against the unnecessary discipline of my dad would be to indulge, except here's the pragmatism of bow hunting and stealth rewards of being observant and conscientious versus being stumbling. I saw my musicians, Andy, the greatest musicians that have ever walked the earth. As before we were teenagers in Detroit, we won the Battle of the Bands. I think I was 12. Tom Noel on drums, Pete Prim on bass guitar, John Finley on rhythm guitar, John Brake on vocals. They were a couple years older than I, but I watched these amazing musicians stumble, forget this clever arrangement we did because they were drunk or smoking dope. So my brain, because I loved the music so much, I had to work so hard to play the guitar and learn Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard and the Motown magic that I'm going, you think you're partying, but you're drooling and you threw up and you blew the song. So my pragmatism as a bow hunter, there's a relationship. The lessons of pragmatism in stealthy bow hunting in the woods kicked in. Well, these guys are ruining this music we spent so many hours rehearsing, and they ruined it with drugs and alcohol. I'm not doing that. And then as my heroes started dropping like flies, the Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison and all these great, Keith Moon, I played with all these guys, and they stink. They can't form a sentence. What good are you? I get to jam with B.B. King. You think I want to be stoned and miss out what B.B. can teach me during a jam session? You think I want to be cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock around the clock, Dr. Spock, and absorb what B.B.'s brilliance can? Well, of course I want to absorb. I don't want to. My friends, the greatest artists in the world, they can't even remember the 70s. I remember everything. I remember which lick. I remember which door to go into the club in Detroit. I knew what songs we played. I knew what I wore on stage. I can name all my musicians going back to 1957. And I can kill a lot of deer with a bow and arrow. And I teach a lot of young people to be clean and sober with my children's charity for 33 years, which you've never heard about because people don't promote children's charity. They actually promote clean and sober. Good grief. So I know I've been on a True North compass setting, and I know my critics are just bad, rotten people. And the people that hate and lie about me, Rolling Stone, Huffington Post, MSNBC, Don Lemon, when they hate me, I go, great. I'm Schindler, and the brown shirts are pissed off that I've got a big list. So I know I'm the good guy, and I know people that hate me are the bad guys. Perfect. And it goes back to my discipline, and I won't get high with them. I get high talking about my family, and I get high this morning shoveling the kettles. I get high this morning checking my traps and shooting my bow and arrow. I got high playing guitar just a half an hour ago. I got high vacuuming. I vacuumed the house and I did the laundry. I get high doing good stuff. You can tell I'm an energetic guy for an old man. I'm 73. That you can't get this with drugs or alcohol. In fact, it will destroy this.
Yeah. You and I have bonded over this book. Wow.
I'm promoting it to everybody because most people, well, now I won't say most, But some people know these mile markers of treachery. But even those of us that know it learn and get more gory details in your brilliant book, and I'm promoting it everywhere I go. I've talked to Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson because they're truth, logic, and common sense, educationally inspired guys, and you need to get on those shows because everybody should read this book. I'll never forget when these tourists came back from Uganda looking at the gorillas, the gorillas in the mist, and they were taken hostage and they were all killed. And one lady survived on the TV in London. I was on tour then. And she's crying. She goes, they raped and they killed him. And I can't believe mankind would do that to another man. You can't believe that. You can't believe that people can be evil. What planet have you been living on? You're from London. You don't remember the Blitzkrieg, do you? You ever heard of Auschwitz, Trail of Tears, the Bataan Death March, the rape of Nanking? You can't believe it? What kind of numbnut? And that's why the anti-education system has mushy-brained the whole world so that they can be susceptible to another 9/11 and another Joe Biden. That's why we're in trouble, because the dumbing down of the world is almost complete. But guys like you and I, we still have a middle finger, and we're going to use it. We're going to let people know that you need to be ready. You need to celebrate the good, but you better watch out for the bad and the ugly and fight against it. That's why I get in trouble. I couldn't be more proud.
I listened to your song, your new song this morning from your new album, and it's a subtle little ditty.
Yeah, I'm a subtle little ditty guy. Like you first opened up this dialogue, I'm a bashful kind of guy. I'm not bashful at all.
And I was looking at the tracks. I haven't listened to the entire album, but I've listened to a couple of them, and you've got the same chops that you had when your first album, your first solo album went multi-platinum. You've sold 40 million albums, and you've got the same chops, but you've got a a sharper message. Your message has narrowed to a point.
Many of my songs are message. Some of them are just crazy, free-for-all, fun, wango tango. On the new record, there's a song called Driving Blind that just celebrates aliveness. And there's a song called Feedback Grindfire. The lyrics, I can't sing it like it is on the record because my forehead veins will smash you in the face because my music is really intense. And I got to tell you, Greg Smith on bass guitar, Jason Hartless on the drums. These guys are the greatest rhythm grinding pile drivers on planet Earth. But the song Feedback Grindfire, it's fun, it's uppity. Even Come and Take It as a political middle finger, it's still upbeat and buoyant and cocky and fun and defiant, all the ingredients that makes the great American dream. But the Feedback Grindfire, I'll just give you the lyrics. I won't try to sing it, or I'll have an aneurysm, because it was a take one in the morning as I was sipping coffee. And it goes, tell me what you want, tell me what you need, give me all your wildest dreams, give me some feedback, grind fire, tell me what all of this means. Did it feel good? Did it feel right? Did I set your soul on fire? Did you live your dreams? Did you fall in love? Give me some feedback, grind fire. So it's positive and loving and empathetic. It's basically a love song to Shemaine. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me all your wildest dreams. I want to make you happy. I want to make Andy happy. I want to make my kids happy. I want to make America happy. But sometimes you got to give feedback, grind fire. And it's about being the best that you can be. And my songs, there's a song about my poor brother John called Leave the Lights On. It's a beautiful song, but some of the songs like Feedback Grindfire, it's just a firestorm. I like to think of as an A10 warthog of music. The point being is that I play my guitar every day. I'm an old guy, but I love it more now, Andy, than ever. My drummer, Jason, is 23, and my bass player, Greg, I don't know, he's in his 50s maybe, but they said during the recording session, they said, my God, if the 25-year-old Ted Nugent showed up, you'd kick his ass, because I have this passion for life, because I see people that don't, and then they lose their life. So I'm just an alive guy, and I think that probably really angers my critics, which means I'm going to be even happier.
I think it probably does. You know, my youngest boy is 19, and after we got off the phone the other day, I said, have you seen him? He said, I've heard him. And I said, let me find something. And I went online and I found you in that setting playing the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah.
On your guitar. And Adam couldn't sit down. Man, he was like, oh my gosh. So that was awesome.
Well, I love music, Andy. I was born in Detroit, the epicenter of work ethic. When I was born in 1948, it was known as the Arsenal of Democracy. What better title could a region have than destroying the evil Japanese Empire and the Nazis? And that was the GIs. And it was Detroit making howitzers and bombers. And that work ethic drove my life and my sisters, my brother, and now my children, my grandchildren, everybody in my life, my band, my crew. So here I am in 2022, and that music pulse, that spirit of those Funk Brothers, the gods of music, and Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley, Little Richard, the inventors of the greatest defiant music in the world. In between sitting in a tree trying to kill a deer and building a duck blind and setting traps and catching fur bears and training my dogs and vacuuming, that I am so pure when I'm done with these earthly activities that when I pick up the guitar, I'm like the 12-year-old horny Ted in the garage with his first amplifier. It's you need to find a purification in your life. And if you pursue it with everything God gave you, the great Indian chief from the Crow Nation said, God has already given us everything we need. We need to find it. We need to appreciate it and put it to use. So in fact, I don't know what it sounds like technically speaking, but here's one of the Birdlands that this is a special guitar, but listen to this lick. Nobody else plays like that. You gotta gut your own deer. When I play music, I'm primal. I still got some blood and guts in my fingernails. Nobody else plays like that.
No, you're right. It's so subtle. It's just, I am blown away, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us here. How can we help you, Ted? We want to put any links to you on our show notes, and
it's really important, Andy. I'm just a servant of God. I genuflect at the altar of God Almighty and His miraculous creation. That's why I'm a hunter, fisherman, and trapper, because I want to be an asset to nature, an asset to the environment. And I'm a participant in the sacred experiment in self-government. I would welcome people to come to my website, tednugent.com. I signed one of these at deer camp last fall for one of my buddies. And now the demand for these hats, come and take it, and I will not comply. I sign those every day. If people want to personally autograph Ted Nugent, I will not comply. It's kind of a Rosa Parks thing. You can go to tednugent.com, but you can also promote FullCircleProgram.com. This is a charity some young friends of mine created, FullCircleProgram.com, where young Americans are making great sacrifices to save young Americans' lives from the engineered importation of deadly fentanyl and deadly meth, killing Americans, engineered by the U.S. government. Andy, I could cry tears of blood that my government has turned on the United States of America and is knowingly opening the borders to the worst devils in the world to bring fentanyl and meth and poisons into this country, killing Americans at record numbers. These young people created FullCircleProgram.com, a great charity. And then the most important thing, well, what do we do, Ted? What do we do? They're destroying it. They open the borders. They're engineering all this crime. HunterNation.org.
I joined this morning at the family level.
HunterNation.org. We're putting boots on the ground. We're going to get legal votes. We're not going to allow illegal votes. If you're not an American, how dare you allow that person to vote in America, much less be here? HunterNation.org. We're spending incredible amounts of money to get boots on the ground in every state and find out conservative value families. They have to register and they have to vote. A lot of people go, well, I'm not into hunting. It's not even about hunting. It's just a bunch of hunters created it. HunterNation.org. God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, 10 Commandments, Golden Rule, law and order, all that radical stuff. We have to make sure that our elected employees stand for that. And if they don't, we get rid of them.
Thank you. And I want to say, as we close, I want to say one thing to my audience, and that is that I am very aware that I'm going to get some blowback and say, I can't believe that you have somebody that Ted Nugent is somebody that loud and that opinionated. All right, I just want to say something. Number one, we live in America where we're supposed to have a freedom of speech. And the other thing is, I want you to read this book again.
Yep.
And I want you to put yourself in their place. And as this was happening back then, I'll bet you they wished somebody had been loud.
I'm exactly what the founding fathers wanted every American to be, to stand up for truth, logic, and common sense. Andy, I got some dogs calling me. I love you, buddy. I love the American dream. Thank you for this, and we're going to have you on the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire ASAP.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Happy 22, everybody.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Carry permits for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by the Mountain Home Apostolic Churches of Reptilic Proving Faith. Friends, are you bored with your church? Has your congregation lost its zip? Then we invite you to join us for Sunday services at the Mountain Home Apostolic Churches of Reptilic Proving Faith. We have a gathering near you, and there are snakes enough for everyone. When the hymns are sung and the offering container is passed, just put in your money and take out a snake. Get to worshiping. You'll have your choice of moccasin, copperhead, or rattlesnake. The rattlers come in 3 varieties, timber, pygmy, and diamondback. Please note that all coral snakes are used in children's church. Best of all, there are no foreign snakes allowed, so you'll see no mambas, no cobras, no boom slangs. When you arrive at the Mountain Home Apostolic Churches of Reptilic Proving Faith, you can know that all of our poisonous snakes were made in the USA. Services every Sunday at a location near you. Check local listings for address, times, and phone number of the nearest ambulance service. That's the Mountain Home Apostolic Churches of Reptilic Proving Faith. Praise the Lord and pass me a copperhead.